Hello everyone, this is Hoda Ganji. In this video, we are going to create an interior render in Rhino 7, such as this image. So you remember we worked on the exterior render and we had a couple of named views that you can go back and forth between them. I added one more camera for the living room here. And the first step is actually make our file a little bit lighter. So I would suggest that when you imported everything, you can just go to Block Manager. This is going to be helpful. And you can go to one of your blocks that you imported and go to Properties and check that it's actually linked. If it's embedded, you can change it to linked, so it's gonna use less of the memory, so it's going to be a lighter file. Okay, another thing you can do, which is going to be very helpful, is to use purge. When you type purge, it's going to ask you what do you want to purge. For instance, if you created some annotation styles that you're not using, any layers you're not using, any materials you're not using, etc., etc., especially the block definition, so any blocks that you created but you are not using, is gonna get rid of them all. I'm gonna suggest that turn all of them into yeses. By default they are on no's, and just hit enter, and it might save a lot of space for you. Next, in order to get some test renders, I want to go to File Properties and check the size of the render. So under render, for the test render, make sure that the dot per inch is on like 72. This is on low quality, and you can go with the like dimensions. I want to go with the screen dimension. You can lock it if you want. Actually, we can go to custom, like this, and I want to say maybe it's only 800 by 529. That's good for now because this is a test render. I'll say okay. First thing first, before doing anything, I just want to get one render to see how everything looks like. So let's go to render, click here. It's under the render tool panel. So this is a test render. You notice that it's very dark. So first thing we need to do is to take care of the lights. Then you see that the background maybe is not the best for here. I want to change the background. Maybe you can remove that part of the wall, so that wall is going to match with the side of the greenhouse. We can add some objects here, such as a table, a carpet, or a rug. And I want to also change the material of one of the walls here, so by the end it's gonna look like this. So let's talk about the lights a little bit. I don't want to save this for now. Under the render tools, you see we have a couple of light options here, right? The one I'm interested to use in a daytime render is this rectangular one. So let me go to a better view. How about I change this to perspective? I want to go with shaded. Let me turn off the greenhouse layer. Usually the best way to simulate the daytime lighting as it is to use one rectangular light. Make sure that project is off. I want to go from this corner to this corner, and I want to end it here. So there is a light here. If I turn the roof layer off for a second, you can see that this is the light, and it's looking inside. So that's the way to be. But if you kind of created that and it's kind of looking outside, you might need to rotate the rectangular light so it's towards inside. If you want to change anything about that light, if you go to render tools to light panels, it's actually added here. right? So you can kind of double click here, rename it. I want to go with rectangular light for the window. You can change the intensity, the color of the light. I'm gonna keep the color as like white, and I'm gonna keep the intensity, and I'll go and see how the render is gonna look like this time. So I can go to my view here, make sure to turn on the roof layer. I can change this back to rendered. Another thing I want to change before I continue is that I want to change that background over there. You remember under render tools, if we go to environments panel, we added an image. I actually want to add another image for the background image, so I want to go there. I want to select this garden view, and I want to leave it as planner. It's good. And you see that actually my background is updated over there. This seems a bit better. Another thing I want to do is that I want to change the material of that wall over there. So I want to change this to shaded. I want to go with a perspective view, and I want to go to my wall layers. How about I select all the layers, hold shift, select the last one, turn them off, and I only want my wall layer to be on. Only my interior wall. So you remember we had interior walls. I just need to separate that single wall so I can assign a different material to that one. What I'm gonna have at the end is that I want to have something like this, a different material for this wall, and the rest of the walls are just simple white color. I'm gonna select this interior wall object, which is one big poly surface. I want to go with X to explode it. I want to actually get this one, add another sublayer here, and this is going to be my living room wall. I can also change the color to make sure that if I move this to my living room, it moves correctly. I want to turn this off for a second, get everything else which is on their interior wall, and I want to make sure that I want to use Boolean union as well as merge all coplanar faces so they're still joined. Okay, I can turn this on. Now I can assign a different material to that one single wall. I want to go to my view. I want to actually go to rendered, but I want to just keep it as it is. I don't want to unhide everything for now. I want to go to my material next to the living room wall. I want to go with a new material, import from library. Architectural is going to be a wall. I'm interested to go with one of the stone walls. So I'm going to scroll down. Actually, how about I go one step back? I'm gonna switch to siding. I want to change the size to large icons or even to extra large. I'll select one of these items. Let's leave it as default. Okay, and you see that it's assigned to the wall. I can go here, select the first layer, go all the way down, click here, and turn them all on. So it's getting better. Next thing I want to do is that I want to add a rug here. So here is what I'm going to do. I'll go to my standard panel. I'm going to change this to 4 viewport. And there are a couple of things here. I don't need them. I can get rid of them. I'm going to create a new layer, rename it as like rug. And I want to make it the active layer by double clicking. Maybe I can also change the color. Okay, now in my top view, I'm gonna start drawing a surface. My project is on. The image that I want to use is this image, and the length is about 1.5 times more than the width. When you are drawing a rectangle, if you want to assign the other corner, you need to hit R. That means it's relative to the first side, to the first corner. I want to go with 3000 by 2000. This seems good because I want the length to be about 1.5 times more than the width. Okay, I'm going to click once. That's the surface. And I want to show you a trick here. Usually when surfaces overlap, there's going to be a problem. So this is what I'm going to do. I want to move this rug from, it's going to be set to vertical from this corner, right? And I just want to type 1. I just want to move it 1 millimeter up so it's not overlapping the floor. Click. There we go. So that is my rug. I want to go and assign a material. For the material, I just want to go to new material, picture, select the picture, and I want to say OK. You see that automatically it assigns the material to the surface, and it fits the material, the picture on the surface that we created. But one thing I want to do is that I'll go back to my properties here. I want to hit escape so nothing is selected, and I want to change the Z location here. It's on 1500. Let's assume someone is sitting in the living room and looking outside, so I want to decrease this number to like 1300 or something, both for the Z location of the camera and for the Z location of the target. 1300. Now it's like someone is sitting here and looking outside. This is a little bit better. And basically you need to make sure that you go with save as. Living room number 2, okay, yes. Otherwise it's not gonna automatically save your changes. So it's getting better compared to this image. We now have that different material for the wall, the background, the lighting. I also maybe add a table here and maybe some plants, and then we can continue with taking the render. So I want to go to File, go to Insert, open the folder. I'll go with this table, open, make sure that this is set to linked so it's not going to use so much space. Okay, prompt uniform, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna put it somewhere around here. Sometimes when you bring objects, you might see that there is a little bit kind of change in your sun settings, so you need to go back to render tools, go to sun setting, and I want to click on the sun so that I can assign the location. So you see that table changed my location from Toronto to somewhere else. I want to click here, and now it's back in Toronto. That's good. I want to close this, and you can locate the table however you want here. You can also add like a plant or something here. Another thing I want to do is that you see the shadows here. I like the shadows to have sharp edges, so I want to go to File, Properties. Under View, for Rhino options, I want to go to Display Modes, to Rendered, to Shadows, and here. By default, this first item is somewhere around here. I actually want it to be on maximum sharper shadows. It looks a little bit interesting in interior renders, so that is controlled from here. And because it's under Rhino options, if I change it from here, it's going to change it for all my files, right? If you change anything under document, it's only about this file, but anything under Rhino is for all your Rhino files. I'm going to say OK. Now this is about good. You can add more objects and everything. We can try one render. So I want to go to my render panels, try a test render here. So this is a test render. You can still work on that. You can change that wall. You can add more objects. You can adjust the camera and target location. Whenever you think it's all good, you can just close this window. And you know, when your renders are done, basically I have set it to gamma 2.2. You can try different gammas too. Also, if you think your render is still too dark, you can also work with either this item here, tone mapping. You can move this to this side to right and left. The right item here is for adjusting the kind of the light areas. This icon on the left side is for adjusting your darker areas, right? So if it's now good, I wanna just close this. It's gonna ask me, do you want to save the image? I'm gonna say no. But to this option, would you like to save the post effects to the document? I want to say yes. That means the changes that I made to gamma and the changes that I made to tone mapping is going to be applied to my future renders in this file. Okay, so I'm going to say yes to this one. And you can also change the lighting intensity from here instead of changing the gamma and everything. Also, when you think everything is good, you can go to File, you can go to Properties, you can go to Render. Maybe I want to keep the ratio as it is, but I would change this to like 1500 or 2000. And I want to change this to 300 for DPI. I want to change this to final quality. My guess is that if you put this on like 1500 or something, it's gonna take about 1.5 hours on a relatively advanced computer for the render. If you change this to like 3000, right? If that 1500 took 1.5 hours, it doesn't mean that 3000 pixels is gonna take 3 hours. Actually, it's gonna take about 6 to 7 hours maybe. So that's something that you need to just kind of work around with it. Basically, the higher the size of the pixels or the number of the pixels, the higher the resolution would be. But it's not that much different, right? If you put this on 300, that on final quality, and if you don't have like 6 to 7 hours to wait, you can go with like 1500 for the pixels, and it should be done in 1 to 2 hours. Okay. This render that you see here, I actually put it for 7 hours. It took 7 hours, and I guess I assigned 4000 for the length of the pixels.